Hola, hola guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Roxanne. If it's your first time here, then welcome. Oh, it's so hot. If you hear a noise, it's because I have the fan on because it's so hot. Not in New York, in the apartment. I finished a total of 4, 5, 6, 7 books and I DNF'd one. So, not too shabby. The first book that I finished, what are you looking at, buddy? Hey. The first book that I finished was The Witches, Suspicion, Betrayal, and Hysteria in 1692 Salem by Stacy Schiff. I thought this was really good. It was well researched, it was engaging, it sort of brought it back to life a little bit, and I thought it was really interesting and really engaging, and I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I hope to get to her book Cleopatra soon, maybe for nonfiction November. The second book that I finished was also about witches, and it was called The Witches by Roald Dahl. This was super cute and lighthearted, and it was funny at times. It was just like a typical Roald Dahl children's book. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed myself when I was reading it, and I thought it was just a lot of fun and a really cute thing to read around Halloween time, so I definitely recommend it. A book that I finished this month as well was In Cold Blood by Truman Capote, and I buddy read this with my friend Sarai. I will link her channel down below, and this book was really, really good. It was so good. I definitely see why it's considered to be like the true crime book, and the first sort of its genre and or I guess subgenre, I'm not sure, but it was really good. And I was worried that we were gonna get too much of the killers and not enough of the families, but I thought that it was a really good balance. I thought that as you're starting to read, you really get into the lives of the victims and the families and their community and their town. And I thought it was great. I learned a lot about them as people and as family and as a community, and I really appreciated that. And I loved how that was done, and it was not forgotten, and we didn't focus all of our attention on the criminals, which I was afraid was going to happen, but it really didn't. And I thought, at least not in my opinion, and I thought it was great. Again, this was a nonfiction book that really brought what was happening to life, and it feels like you're reading like literary fiction. Sarai and I were talking about this. It doesn't really read like some of the other true crime books that I've read. Like it reads exactly like if you were reading a fiction book, which was interesting because at times I almost forgot that what I was reading was a true story, and so I found myself still hoping that things turned out differently. But what that did was it made it a lot more engaging, and it really made it easy for me to get into the story and to get and to start to feel for these characters. I really enjoyed it, and I really, really recommend it as a nonfiction book and as a true crime book. For sure, it was really, really good, and I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. And then I gave Witches by Roald Dahl also 4 out of 5 stars. I read, I think the rest of the books that I read were read mostly on audiobook. One of those was Career of Evil. This is the 3rd installment in the Cormoran Strike series by Robert Galbraith, aka J.K. Rowling. This is my favorite with regards to the characters. It was a lot of fun listening to it again and getting back into that world. I hate that we have to wait until 2018 to see this come to the BBC miniseries. I was really, really enjoying those, and I think they really did a good job, even though I don't think the actors look, at least definitely not Cormoran Strike, looks like the Cormoran Strike in the books. I think they acted them really, really well, and I really like who they chose as our 2 main characters. And so this is my favorite book with regards to how our main characters are developed and how the relationships between them are developed. And so I really, really enjoyed getting back into this one, and I can't wait to see it come to life in TV form. Another audiobook that I read was Hunger by Roxane Gay, and I I loved this book. It is a memoir about Roxane Gay's body, how she perceives her body, how her body is perceived by others, how her body limits her and also propels her to do certain things, why she got the things in her life that led her to make the decisions that she has made, that have led to her current body. So there are all kinds of trigger warnings in this book. Most, I guess, significantly is for rape and assault, specifically gang rape. So, you know, be mindful of that. But as and she has spoken about this I remember reading about that part of her life just very briefly in Bad Feminist. So she kind of expands on that a little bit in this book, and there are so many things that she talks about that I think were wonderfully discussed, and that are things that we don't really discuss as a society and in media, and that's fatness and fat bodies, and how we approach, how we treat them as people, how we consider them in just our day-to-day lives. Something as simple as the chairs that we use for events or for restaurants or at our homes when we host, how are those going to fit different types of bodies? Things like events that she goes to, are the stages accessible? Are they 2 feet off the ground without a step stool? And she is a heavy woman and will have difficulty getting up there. And then that makes you think, not only for her, but just for anybody who might have a physical disability, how little are we taking all of those things into consideration in our day-to-day lives and in our interactions with other people. I know that when I read that part about her going to speak at an event and how inaccessible the stage was, I, as an event planner, was shocked and angered for her, because accessibility is something that I was taught in school for event management, and that every event manager should always keep in mind when hosting an event. How accessible are you making it? Or how accessible are you not making it? And these are things that you should always keep in mind. And I think that the way that she just talks about her experiences, it just felt so genuine, so honest. Like she was completely opening herself up to us, which cannot in absolutely any means have been easy. And I really appreciated everything that she was writing about and everything that she was telling me. And there are things that myself, as a chunkier woman, have felt in a much smaller sense, because I don't have the difficulties that she has and that people her size have, but in a I guess minuscule way, I was able to relate to some of the things that she's talked about, and so it just made it also very personal for me as well. I guess the only thing that made me cut back a little bit, and it's not about the content itself, is more about the pacing or how the chapters are broken up. They're like ridiculously small. So while I think that might have been fine, was I reading it in physical form, I was listening to it on audiobook, and so she would speak for very short periods of time and then say chapter 7 or chapter 9, and so it felt a little choppy, whereas I think had I been reading it in physical form, that wouldn't have bothered me as much, because I wouldn't have been reading like chapter 7 or something like that. So I mean, I guess she could have made the chapters longer, but that's kind of a thing, a me thing as a reader. Yeah, I mean, overall I just really enjoyed it, and I super duper recommend it. Another audiobook that I read this month was The Princess Diarist by Carrie Fisher, and this one was so good, so fun. It's my first Carrie Fisher book, and she's so good. Oh my gosh, she's so funny, she's so witty, she's so honest and like genuine, and I just loved it. I had such a blast listening to it. And so it is narrated by her for the majority of the book. And then there is a part where you are being read diary entries from the first Star Wars movie, which are read by someone who is, I guess, supposed to be younger Carrie Fisher. And those diary entries were so good. Oh my gosh, she's such a good writer. I love them. I thought they were great. I thought part of me wishes that she had narrated the entire thing, but I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed myself a lot. I feel like you get to know her a little bit more, which is awesome. And yeah, I thought it was great, and I totally recommend it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. There's this book called Witches of Lichford. I don't remember who it's from, who it's by. I will write it here. I don't remember who it's by, but Witches of Lichford, and it's like a novella. I think it's a fantasy novella, and it's like a modern. The only thing that I really remember is that it's a modern fantasy novella about witches. I enjoyed it while I was reading it, but now thinking back on it, I really don't remember all that much about it, like at all. So I gave it 3 stars, which I guess is fitting because it was meh. I was enjoying it while I was reading it, but now, come like 2 weeks later, I can't really tell you anything about it because I don't remember. So there goes that, right? I guess I just wanted it to be longer, which I mean I don't know. It's a novella, so is it a format thing? Is it a writing thing, or is it a me thing as a reader? I don't know. But I wanted more from it. Maybe I just wanted it to be a fully fleshed out book, and I would have enjoyed myself more with it. But it was available on Overdrive, and I enjoyed myself reading it. So there goes that. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. And then the last book that I actually DNF'd was You by Caroline Kepnes. I just thought this was very disturbing and creepy without having any fun with it. You know how like you read things that creep you out and that are scary because at the same time you're enjoying yourself? Like it's a fun experience, but behind all the fear. This was not that. I wasn't getting anything out of it. The writing really wasn't spectacular, and it was just creepy. And that's it. Like, it was disturbing, but I wasn't getting anything out of it. I wasn't enjoying myself at all. I didn't think I was going to enjoy myself at all. And then there wasn't anything else to keep me engaged. The characters were meh. The writing was just alright. So I just ended up like DNFing it about 40 to 50 pages in. I was like, this is not for me. And then I gave it away. So yeah, those are the books that I finished and one DNF during the month of October. I uploaded my nonfiction November TBR, which I'm super excited about, so I will link that up above and down below so you can check it out if you haven't had the chance to yet. I hope you're able to participate. I am very, very excited to be participating. I am super excited to get to it. Thank you for watching and for listening. As always, I love you guys, and as I have been doing, please see the description bar for information of how you can donate and find out about natural disasters going on, specifically the ones that happen in Puerto Rico, the Caribbean, and Mexico. All of your help is dearly appreciated, and we hope that it's not forgotten because I already see less and less and less of it in the news. So if it is up to me, that's not going to happen. So thank you for watching and for listening. Love you guys. Oh, and happy Halloween. I don't know if I said that, but I am currently filming this at 6:30 on Halloween night. My boyfriend Lewis is doing some medical school seminar thing, so I'm gonna sit here, watch TV, and eat a shit ton of candy.